I thought we taught him better.
I thought we did. But Miff, are you carrying his resolve that Hex Mambo are going to take us on to a Game 3?
I do like Hex Mambo's composition. I think that there are two critical pieces in the team fight, and we're getting ahead of ourselves, getting all the way into the team fight, but why not? Julio and Johnny. Critically, they need to deal with Panatom, and just Panatom. Mm-hmm. If Panatom is dealt with, Hawk is going to have a free game, and Kha'Zix and Spudio can do all they want, standard Guardian, standard Hunter stuff. I think that is perhaps the most important interaction on map. Otherwise, the rest of the Oni Warriors are probably just either peeling for Pagon or trying to facilitate Panatom on his ever constant and vigilant hunt, trying to catch Hawk out in the jungle, right? Susano, one of the, if not the only assassin in the game that is well suited at chasing out a Yanis. So some key interactions I'll be keeping my eyes on. But all that could just go out the window if all of a sudden we have an explosive early game that completely tips the scales, right? That's assuming a 25-minute team fight at an even state.
Well, SOT was the explosive early game. SOT plus Panatom over in Solo Lane, right? I mean, a 5-0 start on the Achilles. It's a Thor this time. We saw Thor early this weekend in some of the SEC matches.
Whoa.
Wasn't the best. Oh, no.
Oh, he's out.
Wow. SOT is going to live, I presume. Yes, he will. He'll hammer away. Julio nearly getting a solo kill on a SoloOrTroll. The Thor is a pick, Miff. We've seen mixed success from this weekend earlier on in some of the SEC matches. Didn't quite synergize with what those players were hoping for. We've also seen the double dunk Styx Ferryman style of Thor and Ratatosker game. And it looks really good in Baskin's hands. I love the rotation potential of this pick. I mean, you talk about a lot of what Hex Mambo want to do, Miff. Panatom was your highlight of who they need to shut down on the Oni Warrior side. What's the Oni Warrior style of composition here? Are you hoping that you can pick someone out, maybe like this? Johnny's an afterthought. Who's expecting a 4-man rotation at 2 minutes over in mid? Johnny sure wasn't. Oni Warrior sure were, and it's Panatom on first blood.
Yeah, I wonder what the communication's like from Hex Mambo in a situation like that, where both Kha'Zix and Spudio are sitting there like, guys, couldn't exactly say where Jake and Netroid are, but they certainly aren't here. Sure hope they aren't with you. And yep. Johnny says they are. And an easy chase down, well played by Panatom, by the way, to hold on to the dash from that third ability until post-leap from Johnny, and an easy lockdown immediately afterward. What is the game plan for the Oni Warriors? This looks to me to be a much more standard Oni Warriors game plan, which is get aggressive everywhere and always, right? Look for your boxing potential in lane. Have SOT make those early rotations. We've seen Jake and Netroid now make a rotation at the minute-and-a-half mark for a fight on mid-camp. So you got to imagine they'll be doing the same thing for a Pyromancer once that spawns.
Man, Johnny's going to walk face first into Panatom and SOT over on right. This time, not 4 members of the Oni Warriors awaiting him. So Johnny will leap away. He'll be just fine. Pagon with different styles of picks, Miff, but maybe similar outcomes. You got the Insta-Gib ultimate. It's not a crushing wave this time. It's a searing pain. Saw his brother perform really well on this pick earlier on today, the Ra. Is there enough setup around it, though? It gives you confidence in Pagon, or does Pagon even need the setup to hit those ultimates?
Well, that is a lofty question you've sent my way. Does Pagon need help landing his ult? Probably not, but he does have it if he does need it.
Yeah, let's get existential.
Right, SOT's got the wall stun from downtown, the Anvil of Dawn, things like that. Pretty easy to follow up on for Pagon if he's playing heads up. Even a pull-in from Panatom, if you're timing it just right, should be just enough. So I'm not concerned for Searing Pain. I think the concern lies with Hex Mambo and how they're going to survive it, because you better believe a fair few will be finding their way into these priority targets. The concern for Pagon is the dive from Hex Mambo. Bakasura, just as fast as a Ra. Will also have Haste and Katana eventually, generally in third item, if Johnny's builds are anything to go by.
Hey, didn't he set up for that
pass. Yeah, I mean, he's just going to throw. He's practicing. That's a practice shot. It's a low cooldown.
That's right. Got to get things heated up a bit before the actual team fights break out. Can I ask some more questions about Hawk, right? Through space and time.
That's way harder to hit.
Yeah, it is. Also more utility in that ultimate. Provides differing avenues for your team to get in and out of team fights. Now, what's different from earlier games is that through a first blood, the Oni Warriors have actually pulled the 2,000 gold lead. Remember, we were sitting at 1.5K despite...
It's 2,000 already?
It's 1.5K right now,
hey,
depending on where the waves are. We were at this point 25 minutes in. with a 5-kill lead for the Oni Warriors in Game 1. So first blood, about 500 of that, and the rest of the farm is starting to add up. This is where the Oni Warriors have made a lot of their money throughout the phase as well. Slowly pulling away a lead and then suddenly forcing a fight against you. Saad has used his wall, but now used his hammer. Johnny could have an opportunity, but is not immediately ganking that side of the map. Really about these junglers and where they want to set their pace. And Johnny's gotten back into this game, back into the farm game, keeping pace with Panatom quite nicely after falling for first blood. Panatom lurking between Tier 1 and Tier 2.
He's freaking me out.
I know, this is scary. Has Blink. Won't use it. Instead it'll be a purple buff invade.
You know, the Oni Warriors have actually got a very good composition at looking at early neutral objectives. I know we talk a whole lot about ESET and how she's like one of the best mages at really contesting Gold Fury or playing around it. Hold that thought as Hawk. Forced to use that ultimate defensively. Small loss on utility, but at the end of the day, not a massive deal, not just yet. But Ra is in that conversation, Dave. Of,
sure.
You know, you can get onto the Fury and you could pull it, and you're not really sacrificing too much because you've got that heal constantly ticking. You've got really good objective secure as well. So I wonder if the Oni Warriors try and expedite their pace around the PvE. Last time around in Game 1, it was pretty slow going around those Furies and those Pyromancers. Wasn't the standard breakneck pace that we've associated so closely with the Oni Warriors. I think this time around they've got a composition that could really get it done.
Yep. And if they choose to press down on the gas a bit, it'll be up to Hex Mambo to be close by. You do not want to let Oni Warriors bleed you out early in the game because we know they can team fight better than just about anyone in the league, especially when they've got a gold lead on their side. SOT, though, he's got a little defense early. Breastplate of Valor maybe hoping to get some Anvil of Dawns going, get those ultimates back off of cooldown here shortly, because a team that loves to rotate. Think about where some of those kills came from early on the Achilles. Maybe Sot can look towards mid, something like that here in the next few minutes. Get a little extra additional value. But it is still this timer that we've talked about with Johnny. You're looking later into the game. Johnny, Penta earlier on today. Could absolutely get it done on a pick like this. Hawk from mid doesn't hit his ultimate, but 4 members of Hex Mambo are here on left. Won't end up fully ganking. Maybe if that ultimate connects, you're considering going in a bit further. As I'll always say, I admire the attempt.
Yeah, nice try from Hawk, and if it does connect, likely would have rode those portals in to get involved with the rest of his team. That small exchange we saw between Spudio and the dual lane of the Oni Warriors is one that we can expect to see a fair deal going forward. Just ultimate slow, okay, I've cleansed it. Good luck. Johnny. He should be all right. He still has leap. That's a disengage, easy call. But a TKO nonetheless, drop him down to 50%. Maybe a Fury call.
Maybe. Pagon and Panatom. Panatom without Blink makes a difference there. If Johnny's hovering around, Pagon has Blink, maybe one more big initiation. Jake drops a ward, I believe, over on Fury. Maybe just checks it, but no, just face checks it. Set another purple buff. Man, these last couple purple buffs just getting taken away from Hex Mambo. 1 level lead for both Jake and Netrioid. Neutral farm starting to bleed away just a bit. Johnny goes up and over the wall. Luckily, Kha'Zix and Hawk close enough by that Johnny had a little bit of extra safety over in his corner on the left side of the map. Panatom's just, the way he lurks, you know, he just kind of hangs out and waits for you to make a mistake. Johnny, despite falling early, has really picked up the farm game and has a 1 level lead.
Good luck keeping up with Bakasura. If you're not playing Surcat, matching pace with Bakasura on his jungle rotations and his jungle clear is just so difficult after that Golden Blade gets finished up. And as you said, Panatom has been doing a lot of lurking in the sidelines and waiting in purple buffs or waiting around these mid camps trying to find opportunities to gank. Haven't exactly seen the same from Johnny as of yet. He's been much more content to hang out in the jungle and just continue to farm up, and I think he's right to do so. But you have to make use of that level lead eventually. Generally, it's like a 2 to 3 level lead. Once you're in that range, you feel like any fight you take is a good one.
Yeah.
So it could be that Johnny waits for that. But if that's the case, Panatom could very easily adjust his own playstyle. Once you start to realize you're falling behind and not a whole lot of it is getting accomplished in your own.
Oh, Panatom face first.
Good lord.
Into Hawk and Johnny. Hex Mambo, a simple kill over in mid. Just no vision. A 1-2 punch from a Yanis and a Bakasura. Pagon traded some damage back, I'll add. Hawk was low, but no chance. That'll settle the score a little bit here. But again, needed timing. 2,500 gold all of a sudden for the Oni Warriors in the lead. And despite the kills going the other direction, this will help out a little bit. A pick on Awesome Jake. Netroid actually steps forward. Drops.
Well, they're healthy.
Silence. Johnny leaps away.
Sot?
Sot is up. Got to be out of range. Kazik sidesteps the ultimate, but has to sidestep the wall as well. Not enough damage from the Oni Warriors to complete the dive. But you always got to be heads up when the Oni Warriors are around because they'll make a play like that.
Man, that is such a windfall for Hex Mambo there. The pick onto Panatom immediately followed up by surviving that initiation on the left side. SOT utilizes his teleport as well as his ultimate, so miss out on an entire wave to his tier 1 tower. That's experience and gold lost. Julio the entire time just allowed to farm up in his lane. Should be benefiting from a slight lead now. Maybe an entire level there. So the Oni Warriors, not for lack of trying, come up empty, but in trying have left open the door, and Hex Mambo always find their opportunities.
They do. Team with no give up in the vocabulary. Game 1 is a really good indicator of that. Oni Warriors really controlled things, never really widened that gap. Hex Mambo found their fight nearly ended Game 1. What was it that you said? By the thinnest of margins or something like that?
It was thin margins. That sounds like me. That sounds like anybody that watches that game, though, right?
That's true. I'm trying to give you an opportunity to gas yourself a bit. You know, that's like some of the best phrasing I've ever heard, and that's good by you. That's the way it ends, though, in Game 1. Game 2 here, Hex Mambo have fought their way back in. Stygian Beacon, it'll spawn here in 30. Tier 1 tower.
Ooh, watch out.
Ooh, again. Through space and time out of mid, doesn't hit. Jake fills the health bars up a bit further. Kha'Zix and Johnny are in. Goodness, out of nowhere. The rotation from the Giannis. The assistance from the Bakasura. And a 2-kill swing for Hex Mambo. You don't need the ultimate to hit if Hawk is able to teleport his team to left.
Yeah, I mean, that's twice now that the Oni Warriors have tried to aggress on that Tier 1 tower. This time, though, Tier 1 tower removed, but at what cost? 2 members immediately, the dual lane dead. But Stygian Beacon timing, it's the Oni Warriors are going to grab that one for themselves, and the Hex Mambo, what do they get off their kills? They don't return the tower. They don't grab the Gold Fury. It's kills for kills' sake. Close up the experience lead, but gold significant still in favor of the Oni Warriors.
Yep.
I think experience, though, will become a major conversation very soon. I'm looking at the jungle. Surprisingly, it's Panatom who has caught himself back up. I thought we'd seen a much larger gap at this point. Johnny just now taking over to level 13 to the 12 of Panatom on the other side. Mid laners even, support even, still a slight lead for Netroid.
Yep.
I don't know how the Oni Warriors do it, man. It just seems like whenever they die, they come back just as strong.
They do. Well, dying with a bit of a lead helps you come back to life at least even. That's assisting the Oni Warriors here in game number 2. An elimination game, I might add, an important one. Hex Mambo got to win 2 straight against a team that has not lost a set at all here in Season 10 of the Smite Pro League.
At all in general. I mean, this team has never tasted loss.
I mean, they've lost like game 1 of a best of 3.
I said what I said.
And you meant it. And you know what? There's a way you can twist that to where you're right. They have not lost a set at all. This roster has. Grouping for the Oni Warriors over on left. Could consider a Gold Fury at this point in the game if you talked a little bit about the objective potential of the team.
Oof.
Hawk just wide.
Well, they're still
Through
moving
space
up.
and time, but still going to take those portals forward. Also, Earthen Fury gets used by Kha'Zix there, so a couple big ultimates down. It's the same play, run back. Let's see if we can catch a snipe. If not, maybe we'll portal our way through, find an unsuspecting member of the Oni Warriors. But Hex Mambo have disengaged. Wondering if the Oni Warriors were going to take that as an opportunity for the Gold Fury, but they'll think twice.
Yeah, this time the difference is the Oni Warriors were ready for that rotation, even if the fight had made its way to them, and it's a fight that they didn't want to take. SOT was hovering nearby in mid, would have been able to get involved with that Anvil of Dawn. Panatom was over there, still had that Typhoon for disengage, so plenty of resources that Hex Mambo needed to contend with still if they wanted a clean team fight there. But it is worth noting that this time around, the Oni Warriors have been trying to get aggressive. Game 1, it felt like both teams were resigned to a much slower pace. It was fine. Nobody cared. Farm up in lane. Let's wait for the team fight. This time around, for the first 8 or so minutes, the Oni Warriors were constantly aggressive in lane. Awesome Jake and Netroid made their home on that Tier 1 tower. But Hex Mambo and their play on field were able to slow them down.
Yep.
How long can you keep the tide at bay not very long. Pyromancer to the Oni Warriors with 0 fight back, but how do you evaluate the value of a Pyromancer? It's with the Runic Bomb. We'll have to wait till that's used.
Yep, might get used around one of these towers, one of these neutral objectives. Nice wall from SOT. Only in that it forced Kha'Zix into an awkward spot, but underneath his tier 1 tower still had plenty of safety. Now everyone from both teams making their way towards the left. SOT back to base for a reset, maybe a power spike. Yes, finishes his Genji's guard. Haven't seen much from either of these solo laners, Myth. However, thinking we're just a moment away from a THOR and a THOR making their presence known in a team fight.
Yeah, Julio's hit some pretty significant power spikes as well. That Relic Dagger means that that Blink will be available frequently, but has elected to go towards beads, concerned with maybe the CC chain of SOT and Netroid, those silences, and so won't have teleport. Whereas when SOT initiates, if he's forced back to base, he'll be able to rejoin his team very quickly, essentially 2 lives to play with for the THOR on the Oni Warriors. It's just the one for Julio. Blink and beads, a very aggressive lineup in the relics there. That's mirrored by his jungler as well. But haven't seen him make those rotations. He has to be very choosy, Julio that is, on when he does make those rotations, as he hasn't got the teleport, whereas SOT can just about go wherever he wants and be anywhere else at a moment's notice. Yep. I wonder, do the Oni Warriors pull the trigger soon? I really thought we would see them move in towards that Gold Fury. And even if the fight doesn't go their way, sustain advantage over to the Oni Warriors as well. Terra's got some healing, but she's not matching the output of a Ra and a Hell.
Yep. So
it feels like anything where you could fight for elongated periods of time, if you can stretch out that dance around the Pyromancer, around the Gold Fury, it would only further favor the Oni Warriors.
Warriors got to like what they're seeing from that Hell, Myth. Top player damage in the game right now through 17 minutes on the 1 assist. Plenty of poke, also plenty of sustain, as you've mentioned, for the rest of the team. Also, one of Jake's amazing picks. Jake's mage support win rate.
100%.
Yeah, very, very high throughout phase number 1.
On sets. 100% on sets.
Right, not individual games.
Because they have tasted
right,
loss.
They
Yeah,
have tasted
you were
loss
right.
at
Yeah.
one point. And they didn't like the taste. They don't let it weigh on them for too long. They end up winning every set that they play. It does feel like you're just kind of balancing again in the same way that we were in game 1. This time, though, you don't have SOT on the 5 kill swing that you did. In fact, you have Hex Mambo with a slight kill lead, slight experience lead, but you're not setting this pace, the Oni Warriors that we've come to know all throughout phase 1. I wondered if we would see a bit of a different look team with some of the changes. A little more tankiness, a little less damage. Does that affect the Oni Warriors and how they want to play? Through 1 game. Yes, maybe 1.5. Looks a little bit different, but still a team with great shot calling. Always seem to be on the same page as one another. But Hex Mambo are starting to hit that point here, Myth. Johnny's got Golden Blade Phalanx, that kin size. Got to be feeling really good for this Bakasura. So you're starting to hit some damage out of one of your late game carry picks as well.
Beacon spawning up soon. Julio postured a little bit more so towards the center of the map. SOT does have the teleport. We'll be able to join his team, but would have likely liked to have held that a little bit longer. Jake, that's a lot of damage.
It is. Oh, regurgitate from Johnny. It zones Jake. Shotgun blast out of Hawk. Catches out the Hell. Now Panatom's got to be concerned about where his exit path is. Julio, though, be careful. You're beneath the tier 1 tower, and the rest of the Oni Warriors can chase you down. The wall sets up for Pagon. We'll go 1 for 1. Jake for Julio. Stygian Beacon, though, looks like it'll be conceded over to Hex Mambo. So a small mid-lane scrap ends up at a 1 for 1.
1 for 1, but TKO on 2 from the Oni Warriors. And Hex Mambo relatively healthy still. May have been able to look a little bit elsewhere on the map.
This Gold Fury will not die.
Yeah, this Gold Fury is not taking any damage either. Neither side willing to commit themselves there. I thought considering SOT was forced to use the teleport just to get into that engagement and also forced to use that ultimate, might have been the difference maker that opens that door to Hex Mambo, but instead, it's Oni Warriors on reset to the Pyromancer.
Ooh. Flip a coin. Weighted coin for the Oni Warriors and their second Pyromancer of the game. Still, the Gold Fury stands strong. At this point in the game, I mean, it would feel great, but goodness, neither team. Now we've maybe reached the point where it's not worth throwing a team fight away over the first Gold Fury of the game, right? SOT hammers forward, and a portal out from Hawk means a tier 1 to the Onis. They have lost, the Oni Warriors have, just the 1 tier 1 tower over on left. They add their second of the game, though, in Hex Mambo's mid lane. Finally? Maybe? Nope, just ward coverage from Awesome Jake. Though Hex Mambo keeping tabs on where SOT is.
Yeah, we're waiting on some significant power spikes as well. This build that we've seen now twice from Pagon, the Ethereal staff, not Warlock staff this time around, Spear of Desolation, it's great. You're statted perfectly at 6 slot, but it is slow. It's slow and it's very expensive, so could be that the only Warriors are waiting on a little bit more penetration or the Soul Reaver proc or something like that before they're willing to all in on an initiation or an engagement. I'm excited to see the SOT dunk wall into Searing Pain and who is going to survive that. A little bit later on, Hex Mambo going to try their absolute best to prevent that sort of engagement from happening. And again, that does come down in large part to both Julio and Johnny, those frontliners. Kazakhs, I think, a little bit more restricted to hang in that back line. No, Dave, you stop teasing me, man.
Come on.
You're scaring them away from it.
I know.
Keep it down.
I got to wait until they bite. Right. Spooked them away. Spooked Hex Mambo away from the Gold Fury, but maybe baited them into a fight. Dash forward from Kazakhs, as well as an Earthen Fury. To backpedal from the Oni Warriors.
He's very alone.
He is super, super alone. And it looks like that's how he'll die. Julio actually re-engages a couple of runic bombs.
He should be dead too.
Forward. Down goes Sod. He's found Hawk. And Hawk is walled off once more. This is the opening we wondered if the Oni Warriors would find, and they found it. 2 already for Net. Net has dashed over the wall. Sod lives.
Still alive.
Johnny needs one more auto.
No.
He'll never find it. But Spudio gallops forward. And really, it's just a 2-for-1. Oni Warriors with a big fight. Lower health bars on Hex Mambo's side. And a good 2-kill swing for Netrioid.
Man, SOT does so much in that team fight. I was talking about for the first 20 minutes, it's going to be Panatom chasing out Hawk every single time. How could I have forgotten that SOT is just as capable on this Thor, keeps Hawk isolated for the entirety of the team fight, nearly sets up for the kill. That wall connects, but not able to follow up himself. Well played by Johnny, peeling out for his own mid laner, but it's the Oni Warriors at the end of the day. They come out massively ahead off that exchange. A couple kills, a Gold Fury as well, pushing themselves even further in the lead. That gold lead has been nursed for a while.
Yep.
Now starting to grow up a little bit to that 4,000 mark, but 22 minutes into the game, I mean, is that enough to separate you? I think maybe the largest separation is map state for one. The Oni Warriors in a much more favorable map state, having taken out that mid-tier 1 tower. But also it's the 2 runic bombs in pocket that I'm keeping my eyes on. That's 2,000 true damage on whatever structure or neutral objective you elect to move in towards. And 22 minutes in, call me crazy. Watched a lot of Smite throughout the last decade. I think that might be the magical fire giant time.
Has your life changed in the last 10 years, Myth?
No, I was playing Smite, and I still am.
I'm still sitting around and playing Smite.
Talk about it a lot more now, though.
You do. You do. And you're good at it, Myth.
I appreciate it.
You should do it for a living.
I won't quit my day job.
Understood. Oni Warriors now can send their grouping to the right. Again, sometimes it's a team that they don't necessarily need the gold lead, they just need some confidence. Awesome Jake, though, may have been caught out by Julio. Jake able to just wander away. Johnny has now gone back in. Johnny can't find the kill once more. Oh no, SOT is up in the sky. The dunk won't hit, but instead he's found a wall in the back of the fight. Sod with his first, just short of the second, but the rest of the Oni Warriors still have damage. Netrioid's on a killing spree.
Spudio.
But Hawk trading blows with the rest of the Oni Warriors. Everyone's getting in the kill column. Another close fight, but another 1-kill advantage for the Oni Warriors.
The Oni Warriors are getting so much value from their sustain, Dave. It's ridiculous. There is an Ankh on the side of Hex Mambo, but clearly there needs to be more. Divine Ruin, sure. Let's get a Brawler's Beat Stick. Let's look towards some contagions. Let's make this healing go away for Hex Mambo, because the Oni Warriors have just slipped out of so many of these engagements. Jake's living with sub 100 HP. Pagon's done it once or twice now as well. SOT survives for 2 ability rotations longer than I thought he would have. And the Oni Warriors, by thin margins once more, able to win out on the engagement. Pyromancer will go into their pocket.
Hell.
Make sure that your runic bombs remain at 2. And Hex Mambo still struggling to find a solid teamfight win.
They have been. I'm not sure it'll start around this Stygian Beacon. A couple minutes away then from the Titans unleashing. Didn't see much from the Titan fight in game number 1. Kind of wandered down the lanes. Teams were dealing with them relatively quickly. I'd argue we're in a similar map state. Game state a little bit different. I mean, we are a bit further out of control than we were in game one. And the Oni Warrior, my argument was always the Oni Warriors are looking for a reason to fight anyway. Maybe a Titan fight kind of ushers us closer to that last big swing. Say what you will about Hex Mambo. This is a team that has really showed up this weekend. They've impressed us. Nearly take game one from the Oni Warriors. They've got a big hill to climb. They want to keep their tournament lives alive.
And I think it starts, might be, just begins and ends at this Fire Giant. You cannot allow the Oni Warriors to take this one for themselves. Their siege potential is just ridiculous with the amount of sustain that they've got in their draft. They will remain on your Phoenix line indefinitely. So I agree with Hex Mambo. Group up, make sure this one doesn't go down for free. It won't be easy to stop the Oni Warriors. Again, the longer a fight goes, the better it is for them.
Panatom, are you in trouble in mid? Yes, but it's not the ultimate price that Panatom has to pay. Oh, goodness, Hawk. One more portal through. Titans will be in mid.
Where's he going?
Sot's going towards Spudio. It's good eyes from Yuma. If I didn't catch it, Spudio's got to use his ult once more to get out of this fight. Titans wander down the mid lane. Maybe Oni Warriors setting the bait one more time. In all likelihood here, enough towers left in mid. Maybe just Oni Warriors deal with the Titan. Send Hex Mambo to deal with their Titan after that. We've already seen how, if one team deals with it quickly, you're going to have a small opening here. Maybe some alone time around the FG.
Maybe. At least a POI that Hex Mambo will be forced to address. Looking at the positioning of Panatom towards the edge of this team fight, I got to lean forward for this one, Dave. I think the Oni Warriors, they want this engagement.
Sot gets beads away from Hawk. Hawk doesn't have his ultimate back. Oh, it's Portal. Right into a Fearless from Julio.
Close.
Titan is going to go back to the Tier 2 tower over in mid. Gets a little bit of damage, but ultimately falls. Johnny and Panatom battling it out. Panatom's got a lot of damage for Johnny. Primal Fury for the Oni Warriors. Maybe Primal Fury reset. Titans come and go. Not much to be said on the map. But if nothing else, all things stay the same going into the 27-minute mark.
It's a death of 1,000 cuts here for Hex Mambo. The Oni Warriors slowly tearing this game state further and further into their favor. Primal Fury simplifies the Fire Giant. Double Runic Bomb will probably become 3 before the Fire Giant's pulled in earnest. And Hex Mambo just trying their best to keep the tides at bay. The Oni Warriors have done a great job diving to that back line. Pagon in particular as well has had a phenomenal game here on the Raw. Maybe it runs in the family because he is hitting every single ultimate so far. SOT is running amok, making sure that Hawk isn't allowed to play in that back line. Panatom has been restricting Johnny much better than I thought he would. The Susano versus Bakasura matchup is not a very fun one for Susano. But considering it's a Phalanx, Bakasura, it slows down some of that DPS. Panatom been able to survive each one of those regurgitates. I believe 3 now used on him, and he just walks out of there after dropping the Typhoon. So it's a moot battle between these junglers, and between the backline dive, it's the Oni Warriors coming out ahead. Hex Mambo need to address it. Either deal with SOT on his dunk. You've got the damage output between Johnny and Spudio to really shred some of these frontliners. Double kin size will do that for you. Or perhaps you need to see a little bit more from Julio. He's had some good pushes, but for the most part has found either Jake, once or twice we've seen him on SOT. It's been those tanks. Catch out Pagon, catch out Netroid. All of a sudden you're turning some heads.
And Pagon's felt very undisrupted this game.
1-0-6
on the Raw, right? I mean, doing a lot of assisting. Seen some good snipes though from Pagon. You're thinking, man, this Raw could have a difficult time if a Tier, if a Bakasura find their way in, but we have just not seen that play out. More pressure towards Jake than anything else, but Jake has slipped away just a few times as well. Spudio's really spooled up the damage. That surprised me. I figured it would be Pagon on top, but Spudio's had a good game here so far. 1 minute away from the enhanced Fire Giant. Oni Warriors 1, maybe team fight away from sending Hex Mambo packing. A lot more controlled chaos from the Oni Warriors in this set than we were left with in Phase 1.
Wouldn't even call it chaos at this point.
Yeah, right,
This is
right.
reminding me of like a Season 9 Camelot King style from the Oni Warriors. Just slow, methodical, taking apart the map state, grabbing neutral objectives, poking and prodding, but not overcommitting. The Oni Warriors, they've taken their month break of practice to really hone in on Maybe they're trigger discipline.
Kha'Zix, bored of the pace of this game, dashes forward. It's actually a blink.
Massive onk.
Oh, Netrioid clipped by the Yanis ultimate. Oni Warriors unhappy with the initial prospects of this fight. Out and away they go. Kha'Zix and the
sick.
rest of Hex Mambo starting to work down the tier 1 tower. Root from Kha'Zix, but a wall from SOT. Reminds him which team is ahead. Sot has set the stage, and he might finish this fight as well. And Anvil Dawn gets double beads for a double kill.
Good Lord.
A triple kill from Sot. Runs him down. Are your eyes open now? Because the Oni Warriors have awoken at the end of Game 2, and it is the end of Game 2 and the end of Hex Mambo here at Masters.
Pagon plays that perfectly, Dave. The dive was well executed by Hex Mambo. Every bit of CC found its way to Pagon, but Pagon had an answer each time. Oh, you've got a stun? I'll beads that one. Oh, Blink Fearless? I'll just ult to CC immune that. I don't need the damage to kill you. And immediately afterward, once everything was expended, the Oni Warriors turn and burn every individual member of Hex Mambo. Clean, concise, clinical. Words I wouldn't have used to describe the Oni Warriors until today, but the only ones I could use that are correct.
And if we saw shades of that from Oni Warriors at the end of Phase 1. There were games where they slowed down their pace a little bit, but they're still interlaced with a lot of these little fights and scraps, it feels like. This was a start to finish. We're going to take these objectives, and Gold Fury lasted like 20 minutes in this game. But the Oni Warriors, they find a way to get it done. The longest winning streak? That already happened at the end of Phase 1.
Yeah, we're
right?
still in it. It's
now
just extending.
We're adding on to it. Hex Mambo, they had a heck of a run here at Smite Masters, but unfortunately you faceplant right into the Oni Warriors by the end of it. This is going to be a difficult team to beat.
I mean, we always knew the Oni Warriors were going to